Welcome, welcome, welcome. Wow, that is loud. Whew. Okay, we're back for 2021. Goodbye, 2020. Good riddance. Sorry, guys, but I just did not have a very good time with COVID and all the other problems we had. Let's have a better year, 2021. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Now, for people that have not listened to the Ask Brien Show, a couple of things. One, we started our first show in 2017. Pilot was in December of 2016. But we've been around for a few years, and every week, Ask Brien tries to bring on board somebody as a guest that has some business background that can help you in business. So if you listen to all the shows, you'll eventually become a business expert. By listening to every show, you'll get information that can help you out in your business. Ask Brien is spelled AskBrien.com, and every year, if you haven't listened to the show, people are always asking, why do you spell Brien Brien? Because when I went to school, I had a friend Brian Bryan and Brian. The only Brian I knew was an Irishman named O'Brien. So I have the engineer, and that does start with an E. So give me other reasons why. Where's your drum roll? You need a drum roll.
I wonder. You know what? I wonder if I can find a drum roll. I think I can.
Well, it's
in
a little
here.
bit too late now because you know.
Well,
you know what?
I'll bring it
for
in
the next show.
Next show. All right. Fine. Fair enough. That's my homework. But hey, everybody, the engineer here, and he took my thunder away by taking my favorite of the E's. He took the engineer E because it does start with an E. But either way, that starts with an E as well.
And thunder is from Grease Lightning. Remember?
Easy, Danny Zuko. Anyways,
Brian Zuko to you.
Brian Zuko. Either way, there's a couple of words that start with an E that kind of embody the Ask Brien Show. One of them is excellence, because we all here exude nothing but excellence on the show. Experts would be another one, because we have everybody that is on our show is an expert in some form of field that we're bringing them in for. Other ones we have is empathy, which he was not being very empathetic with me by, stealing my thunder on that one. Let's see, that's 3, plus mine was the 4. I believe there is effort, because we give 100% effort on everything we do on the show. I think there's...
Let's get excited!
He brought the excitement. I was going to say enthusiasm, but he's got that too.
Because you can have persistence, but if you don't have enthusiasm, if you're not enthusiastic and excited about what you're doing, it's a lot tougher.
Very true. And I think that does it, right?
I'm sure there's 3 or 4 others, but we don't have time to make a 3-hour show while the engineer goes back in time to figure out what's going on.
It's been a while. It's been a long vacation.
And if anybody wants to, they can go to the Ask Brien website, www.askbrien.com. We have our shows posted there, as well as any business questions, business answers you need, as well as any experts, are all on the Ask Brien website. And without any further ado, how do you spell ado?
ADIEU.
And why do I like that?
Because it's got a lot of vowels in there.
Yes. I trained you well. Okay. I'm giving a little fish to the seal. You can eat it now.
Terrible.
And we have our co-host, Traci. Are you there?
Oh, I'm here.
I didn't want to forget you, and then we have our...
Well, I kind of thought you did. I was starting to get my New Year's feelings hurt. I was like, gosh, am I already going to get my feelings hurt this quickly? I don't think so. Surely they didn't forget about me.
That's because we're empathetic.
Yes, and encouraging and enlightening and all of those wonderful things.
And we have a very good guest today, Tom Nealy.
Yes, sir.
All right, how you doing, sir?
Good. I hope I can keep up with you guys. All you guys have great radio voices. Here I am with my nasally post-COVID voice.
Well, that's because we're...
Oh, but you have intellect we don't have. You have intellect. That's way better.
Speak for yourself, Traci.
I will, thank you.
But so, Tom.
Yes, sir.
we want to go a little bit about your background. Nobody knows, much about you. So give us a little a biographical background. I don't want a boring type one, but just give me a couple background. Give me some pointers of things that you've done in the past and where you are today.
Well, where do you want me to start? Should we start
after the newspaper route? Okay.
After the newspaper route. Well, so that would be somewhere in the principal's office in junior high school.
In the 1930s? Okay, go ahead.
In the 1970s. So yeah, basically, my turn at entrepreneurialism was by necessity. When I was right when I got out of high school in '84, I was trying to get into automotive design school over at Pasadena Art Center, and I was going to Glendale College, a community college locally, trying to fatten up the portfolio, and it was futile to get in with unless you had money. So you had to have a great portfolio to get into Pasadena Art Center. A lot of people are familiar with that school. It's the #1 automotive design school. Anyway, long story short, I was sitting there in art class one day, drawing a picture of a guy in a loincloth eating fruit, and I just decided it probably wasn't for me, and quit school after one semester of college, and went home, told my parents, hey, I quit school, and the following morning I woke up with a 3-day notice on my bedroom door. And, at 18 years old, you've never seen a 3-day notice. You don't know what that is.
I'm 56 and I still haven't seen one, but go ahead.
This is what?
I said I'm 56 years old and I haven't seen one yet, but go ahead.
Okay, well, yeah, so I'm 54, so we're about the same age. So I was working part-time at a paint and body shop, and I was making minimum wage. Minimum wage at the time was $3.50, if you remember back that far. And my mom, with this 3-day notice, she put the rent at $200. And so I went down to where I was working part-time. I told my boss, hey, I need to work full-time. And he said, I don't need you full-time. You have no skills. Part-time's all I need you for, to do the banking, run the bank's deposits in, take customers home. That's all I need you for. And I begged him, and he said if I could undercut the illegal aliens and go down to $3 an hour cash, I could take the job full-time. So I took it. I convinced him he had to buy me lunch. I convinced him he had to drive me to work because he lived nearby me, and I would ride my bike home because $200 at that time just seemed like expensive to me. So long story short, my mom kept ratcheting up the pressure. She made me start buying my own food. My dad was just sitting there as a bystander. He didn't intervene in my mom's pressure tactics. And eventually, my mom had gotten me to pay my rent, pay my own car insurance, and pay for my own food and pay my own phone bill. And so that was a lot of money back then. I don't know if you remember, car insurance wasn't what it is now. It was much more expensive back then for a kid with 16 speeding tickets. And so it was pretty ugly. It was pretty ugly,
What is that, 200 points?
Oh, back then they didn't suspend kids' licenses like they do now. I mean, now if they just look at a traffic cop wrong, they get their license pulled. But back then we got away with so much stuff. I still can't believe how much we got away with in those days.
Because we didn't have the internet.
We didn't have the internet, yeah, and there was no outrage. There was no outrage at kids being kids.
No social media.
But anyway, so I worked for this guy for about 8-9 months, made it up to $4 or $5 an hour, made it up eventually to about $8 an hour within a year, and then decided to just open my own body shop and paint and body shop and work my way through that. And then I had always raced cars as a young kid in organized racing, and eventually it just kind of transitioned from paint and body into automotive construction and prototype construction and car design and car fabrication. And then we got into distributing the parts that we put on the cars, and that grew into a large distributorship. And then, 40 years later, how long has it been? How long ago was 1985?
35 years ago.
35 years ago. So 35 years ago, we're kind of sitting at the top of our little neck of the woods. in the economy, and things are good. It's been a long, long road. A lot of life lessons learned along the way, and basically started that business with about $265.
And you probably have a little bit more than that now.
Yeah, we're doing okay. We're the third largest in our industry, and we're doing real well.
Well, what I find interesting is you went to college for automotive design, and then a couple years later, after you were in business for a while, you were actually doing some of that with the race cars, correct?
Yeah, I was trying to get into automotive design. I couldn't get in to Pasadena Art Center without a fat portfolio, so I was trying to build a portfolio, and I actually convinced the counselor there to let me sit on some classes to help me fatten my portfolio with non-credited Art Center classes. So it was a great deal for me. And but I just couldn't afford the tuition. My parents weren't going to pay for my school because I screwed off in high school. I was barely a C average student. I think my GPA was 2.65. And I did great in art and music. That was about it. Everything else I kind of sloughed off and didn't pay attention to, but I just made it through somehow without getting expelled.
Well, the engineer says he wishes he had a 2.65. Anyway.
That's cool.
Mind you,
So
I had a
mean.
3.5 in high school, Mr. Brien Johnson.
Out of 10? Okay. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell people that I do consultant work because I do a little consultant work on the side for some private equity companies and some large manufacturing companies in the billion range to 900 million range, and they always ask me, what university I went to and what degrees I had, and I told them, I said, expulsion, suspension, detention.
Wait, I thought you graduated the School of Hard Knocks.
I did, but they don't count that, but they think it's great. But, when you dig deep into some of the staff at some of these large corporations, you find out some of the sharpest people there were basically high school dropouts. It's kind of funny.
Well, not only high school dropouts, but look at the college dropouts that we've had in recent years, multi-billionaires. Bill Gates and Zuckerberg, they were college dropouts. So you compiled a list of 10 rules to be a successful entrepreneur, and I have that list in front of me, and we want to go through some of these items. So the first one you said for item number 10, and these in order of 1 being the most important, but 10 being the least important, and you write down, reduce your cost of living to the bare bones. So explain that to people.
Well, the number one thing I run into when I'm mentoring other entrepreneurs and business owners that are younger than I am, which I do on a volunteer basis, I usually try to keep 4 to 5 young minds on the speed dial just to help people out and kind of pass on some of the mentorship I was fortunate to have along the way. And the number one thing that comes up every time I'm dealing with someone who's short on cash, has to go to a bank for a loan, is they live like they're already in business for 15, 20 years and they're making it. They live like they're making it. And, right down to the cell phone, the car they drive, the overhead they have for rent, lack of roommates. I mean, people just live too expensively. And it's hard to not do that in Los Angeles, but you have to be creative. And that holds a lot of people back with capital.
Well, okay, but, we're talking about living, right? So, so maybe your rent is $2,000 versus $1,000 versus $3,000. Yes, $1,000 is a lot of money, but to start a business nowadays, I would think you need a couple $100,000 to be very successful. So why should that matter?
Well, I don't think you need $200,000 to start a business. I think if you've got a phone and you've got transportation, you can fit in somewhere. And I don't think you need to invest that much capital to start a business. Obviously, a restaurant would be a different story, or, say a UPS store or some Baskin-Robbins or buying a McDonald's or something like that. Obviously, you need money, but a lot of people start out, say in construction, and then they want to become their own contractor, or they're an interior designer. These things that don't have a lot of overhead where you can kind of work from home to get your feet wet. You just got to reduce the overhead as much as possible. That also helps you weather storms like what we're in now.
Corona storm. So
Corona cloud.
Exactly. And Traci, why don't you go with number 9?
Thanks for the curveball. Appreciate that.
I always like to throw you in the fire.
I can take it. Okay, so number 9, reject subsidies. They make your business model weak. List your own weight.
Yeah, that's
Love
my
to hear
favorite.
your insight on this.
This is actually one of my favorites.
I'm his favorite.
Who's the favorite?
Me, because I read number 9, and it's your favorite.
Oh yeah, that is my favorite. Reject subsidies. Reject your subsidizations as much as possible. It's hard in certain businesses because the government throws some money your way if you're in, say, wind power or electric vehicles. I can understand that they want to push something a certain direction, but I've noticed the people that rely on artificial subsidization, they take their foot off the gas, for lack of a better metaphor. And I think that even myself, I caught myself, even with all the free money flying around from the SBA and the stimulus and everything, I caught myself leaving 15 minutes early once in a while, which is unheard of. I never leave 15 minutes early from work, because you've got a backup and a little safety net with this subsidization. It makes you weak. It makes you soft. It makes you take your foot off the gas. And if you're going to succeed, you got to have your foot on the gas.
Okay, so I have a question for you. That's subsidy, but let's say you've been successful for 40 years. Let's say you have $5 million in the bank. You didn't get a subsidy, but you got money now because you have been successful. Isn't that going to also tell you to take a little bit of the foot off the gas or not?
Yeah, and that's true too. That is true too. But you want to reject that feeling as much as you possibly can. You need to keep pushing for the benefit of the company, your employees, and everybody involved with you. They want you to keep your foot on the gas. Obviously, you can take Sundays off. That's okay. I allow that. But that's it. Keep your foot on the gas.
Well, I'm very grateful because I'm a big NFL fan, so I have to take off Sundays from.
Brian, let me guess your team. You are a New York Giant.
No, the other team.
The Jets.
Jets, Jets.
Oh, you poor man.
I was gonna say Buffalo.
Hey, excuse me, I watched them beat the Rams a couple of weeks ago.
That was good.
That was my.
That was funny.
That was our Super Bowl.
Yeah. They knocked me out of my eliminator pool. Those Jets.
Don't mess with the Jets. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's my stance on that.
All right, we're going to be going to a break in about a minute or two, so we're going to go over the number 8, and that is stand behind your product and your work, even at your own financial demise. So what are you saying? If somebody says, I don't like your product, give me a refund, you refund them back? Is that what you're referring to, or something else?
Yeah, if you've committed a warranty capable product, you need to stand behind it. If you're doing work, or say it's a construction job, or you're wiring somebody's house, or whatever it is, you stand behind it. Even if you got to take a loan out to cover the loss, you stand behind it. A lot of people now just feel like they're entitled, and they do not stand behind their work. And that's creating a big problem in the marketplace. This is going to pop up even worse in the next 10 to 15 years.
Well, what if you have a service, like you're a consultant, right? So let's say somebody was paying you money to be their consultant, and they didn't like it, and they said, you know what, I'm paying you $5,000 a month, I don't like the coaching, I want my money back. Would you give them the money back?
Well, if you feel that you breached the contract yourself, if you dig deep and you think you did that, then you're working for free. So you better, pull your weight, or you're working for free, or you're refunding somebody. You got to stand behind it. That also makes you weak if you do not do that.
Well, what if you think you did a good service?
Well, then you have a dispute, and that's where a lawyer like yourself comes in handy.
All right, so we're going to be taking a break. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years' experience, the Law Office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the Law Office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
At College of the Canyons, we are
an inclusive community,
a family,
a partner,
a leader,
a way forward,
an open door,
an affordable education,
an opportunity for a different tomorrow.
Spring classes begin in February.
The time is now.
The place is here.
Enroll now.
Canyons.edu/schedule.
Do you change your own motor oil? Did you know used oil is actually hazardous waste and can't be disposed of in the trash like regular old garbage? Fortunately, Santa Clarita has over 20 certified collection centers to properly dispose of used motor oil and filters for free. When you do the right thing, you help keep our city clean. Visit greensantaclarita.com for locations near you. That's greensantaclarita.com. This message is funded by Cal Recycle.
If your mortgage is $765,000 or more, you've probably been frustrated by all the advertising with extremely low mortgage rates. Because when you called your bank or one of those companies doing the advertising, hoping to refi at a low 30-year fixed rate, you found out those low rates were not available to you because you have a jumbo mortgage that exceeds their conforming limit. Well, Owning has great news. Now you have the opportunity to refinance and save money like everyone else. Today, Owning is offering refis up to $2 million at a 30-year fixed 2.625% rate and APR with no closing costs. No points, escrow costs, title fees, nothing. So call 8555-OWNING or go to owning.com.
Owning Corporation, equal housing lender. Rate assumes tax and insurance in pounds. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. NMLS 1797976. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
Jumbo 30-year fixed money at 2.625% rate and APR with no closing costs.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. How do you get that and? Do you have a button or something?
I think I do, yeah. I do have a button for it.
Trey! See? Are you there, Traci?
I mean, one of my eardrums is here. The other, I think, is...
I'm sorry, but I saw that
okay.
I actually had a winner there because the engineer kind of was like smoking it, so I had to just throw that.
He was asleep at the wheel, Patty. Okay, let's get back into this because number 7 is that we have. It's so important and a really good conversation to have around. So your number 7 is for inventory-based businesses, you must control your inventory as carefully as you do anything else in the business. And my question is, okay, so help us if you are either a new business and you've never had an inventory-based business, but even more importantly, because this was my own personal struggle, so I'd love to have your insight on this, is being a service-based business and then adding inventory and converting from a service-based business to an inventory-based business, because that's a pretty sharp learning curve.
Before we go, I just want everyone to know we're speaking here with Tom Nealy, and he has created a list of 10 items that you need to be successful. We're on item number 7, in case you just joined us.
Well, that learning curve of switching from service-based to inventory is one of the hardest things to do. You have to almost change your DNA because on the one hand, when you started your business, say you were painting houses and you were doing stucco, let's say, and then all of a sudden you became a stucco and paint distributor. That's very hard for people to do. You have to be left and right brain to do that. The main thing is if you, let's say, what was your business, Traci? What did you do?
So I specifically only did consulting services. And so about a little over 4.5 years ago, I launched a podcast production company that went from service-based to we managed inventory around equipment, podcast equipment, and engineers, and we increased labor and inventory.
Okay.
So it used to just be me. I was like a solopreneur, and now I have a team all over the country with equipment, inventory, and people and labor, and it's a dramatically different business model.
Yeah, that's very difficult with multiple locations. I've only experienced 2 locations max of my own, but I can tell you, if you don't make it, you have to be close to it and only stock 3 months of it. So if you figure out you're going to sell 100 widgets a year and you're not making your widgets, you want 33 widgets on the shelf at all times. If you're making your widgets, you may want to look at the profitability of manufacturing the widgets for up to 3 years of inventory on hand at any time, because you're taking the channel margin out of there. Channel is what a distributor makes after he buys it from a manufacturer. You've eliminated the channel margin, and now you're the manufacturer direct to public. So you may want to consider doing 3 years of inventory on the shelf at all times, and it has proven for me to be another 15 points annually on the bottom line by manufacturing in that high a quantity. But that being said, a lot of the Generation Z and the millennial graduates from Harvard and Yale do not believe that. And it's a boomer thing. It's a Gen X thing to have 3 years of inventory for a manufacturing business. So there's a little bit of...
What if
you go ahead. I was just...
Well, first of all, beginning about just in time, but what about, product discount, right? So, 3 months, and it's going to cost me $8, right? But if I buy 6 months, I only have to pay $4. So, how does that affect it?
Well, if you're manufacturing it and you're manufacturing in mass quantity for hardware business, which is what I'm real familiar with, for hardware, the margins are so high that having 3 years of it on the shelf is about as much as 3 to 6 months of distributed product on your shelf. It's about the same, but a lot of people have a hard time dedicating that much manufacturing bandwidth to put 3 years of inventory on the shelf. But I have seen it done, and I've done it both ways, and I really believe in the 3-year model as a manufacturer, and as a distributor, I really believe in the 3-month rule.
Traci?
Yeah, so what I was really seeing impacted in 2020 was basically, I think, a reality check of this rule, right? Because all of a sudden everything's going along in our normal life, then the pandemic comes, and then people's supplies are drying up and people don't have the inventory like they thought. So how would you say that, was that a big reality check for a lot of people as a result of the pandemic, and how do you think people have adjusted?
Well, for me, I can only speak from my own experience. I was in very good position. I had the 3 years on the shelf, and my 2 number one suppliers where I do buy for my 3-month rotation, they had 3 years on the shelf. So nobody had a dip. Everybody, it's business as usual, and all of our competition did it in just-in-time, JIT, and they are all suffering, going by the wayside, and eventually maybe going out of business. So we will be picking up the ashes of those bonfires hopefully here in the next year and suck them into our operation. But the people that had 3 years on the shelf going into this pandemic, they're doing really well.
Well, with just in time, you don't have to worry about an inventory cost, right? You don't have to worry about, hey, I've got $50,000 worth of inventory. I'm not earning any money on it till I sell it. So there is a benefit to just in time.
Yeah, I do it both ways. I have a portion that is JIT, and I have a portion that's manufactured. And it's just one of those things. You have to decide if you can trust your suppliers to have inventory for you at any given time. You got to be close to your inventory too. Walmart made a killing on that. They're 20 minutes away from all their inventory suppliers, or so the story goes.
Wow. Traci,
but it's something that needs to be combed through constantly. It depends on the SKUs too. I have over 85,000 SKUs in my warehouse, so I have a wide, shallow lake of inventory. I don't have 100 SKUs that are very deep. So for me, it's very hard to manage 80 to 90,000 SKUs.
I think anybody has has that many SKUs. It's
Yeah.
hard to manage. It's not
that
just
makes my learning curve.
It's
my
tough.
learning curve feels very, very small right now. Very, very small. Felt big, now feels small. Well, let's talk about something that is a choice, but at the same time, not everybody makes this choice, and that's number 6, which is be on Lombardi time and expect the same of your staff.
Now, did you go and look up what Lombardi time is in pre-show preparation?
Well, actually, no, I did not, but I'm very grateful for the fact that you enlightened me over the break. And if anybody who knows me, then the reason is that because I do have punctuality issues, and unless I'm going to a movie, live on the radio, or have a spa appointment. Otherwise, that just shows you that I know how to be on time for priority.
That's good. Well, Lombardi time, you can Google it. It's a very popular concept. Vince Lombardi obviously started this in the 60s when he was coaching the Packers. And it's basically you're 15 minutes early for everything, and you expect the same from everybody. If you're on time, you're late. It's 50 minutes early everywhere. And your life will change accordingly.
Yeah,
so my husband and Vince Lombardi must be peers, because that's his motto, is that if you're on time, you're late. And then he also talks very significantly and frequently about how you have to allow for extra time, because you don't know what will happen in between when you leave and when you get to said destination.
Oh, yeah, especially in L.A. County. I mean, if you want to be legitimate, you really need to be on double Lombardi time, be a half hour early everywhere. So you get stuck on that 405, you're covered.
And you probably don't want to work for the government. they're 15 years late. But we have number 5 on his list of entrepreneur.
I love this one. Empower your employees to become wealthy working for you. Businesses that pay well also do well, and employees that are incentivized will work as hard as the owner. The owner will prosper only if their employees are prospering. Yes, 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 and yes.
I have one point I want to ask you, and it's part of this question is, so do you believe in employee ownership, and do you believe in stock options are mandatory if you have a corporation? Are those the type of things you're referring to, or that's not part of it?
I like that in a lot of cases. Yeah, for small business under 10 or 20 employees, I don't know if that works, but I know for larger companies, I think it's very good. And I think it incentivizes people. But I can tell you, one of the biggest compliments, or I shouldn't say compliment, one of the greatest moments of satisfaction of my tenure as a CEO and employer is when I see my employees pulling in my parking lot with brand new cars, and that they paid for, not that they borrowed money to buy, but they actually paid for.
And they haven't embezzled you either.
And they have not embezzled me, no. No, that's funny.
That's horrible.
No, but I love it. I see my employees, their kids are going to private schools, they're driving new cars, and you have to put a piece of the action on the table for them to get involved, and you will see a great deal of difference in how your people perform.
Do you have a recommendation on those percentages, though?
I was just going to ask the same thing. What percentage?
Do you range those
that?
percentages?
Yeah.
Well, what I like to do is I like to look at the bottom line for the year, and I like to divvy it up equally after everybody got their base salary. That's what I like to do.
And so what about hourly employees and things like that? Are you talking about just salaried executives?
No,
or are you
everybody.
Talking about across the board?
Everybody gets a hunk. Everybody gets a hunk, and so everybody's working hard. And then you also lay out performance milestones for them too, like if they can learn how to do this, if they can learn how to do a pivot table in Microsoft Excel, if they can learn Magento 2 platform, if they can do this, they can do that, they'll start making more. It's not just about the bonus at the end of the year, but it's about your wage and your salary. The more you know how to do, and then you're much better off for the company. And more people are inclined to learn all that if they know they're getting immediate pay for that.
So your incentives are based on income and et cetera. But what about giving employees a percentage? Because when you give employees percentage, then you come back to that other issue we just talked about earlier, whereas the subsidy issue, right? So let's say we gave somebody 2% of the company, right? And now that money's, now that there's two issues there. One is they've got that extra income coming in, and so they don't need to work as hard, potentially. Or two, they leave the company and they try to take that 2% with them, and I'll be at the beach, you work and I'll hang out. So how does that
I've never had that problem. I would say, for lack of a better metaphor, the incentivization is a carrot in front. You're chasing that carrot, and you're going to get the carrot at the end of the trip, where a subsidization would be me shoving the carrot down your throat and chewing it for you. You don't even have to work for it. So, for lack of a better metaphor, that's all I can really think of off the top of my head.
I'm sure you can think of more, but all right. So, Traci, you want to go number 5?
Oh, yes, because I'm a big advocate of this as well. We have a lot of the same business philosophy, so that hopefully that means I'm going to be as successful as you are. So answer your phone, eliminate your voicemail system entirely, return all calls and emails on the same day. So I actually have had people be shocked. I have on my website, you can click to talk, and it actually doesn't go to an email, voicemail system. It goes straight to my cell phone. And so I've answered it, and people they stammer and stutter because they're not expecting to get the founder of the company. They're like, well, you're and I'm like, nope, you're talking to Traci. This is her. So I love that that's your philosophy. Now, I will ask you though, what if it's just virtually impossible to return an email the same? I do definitely return calls on the same day, but emails the same day that can be challenging, and it also sets up expectations. But it sounds like
well, within reason. I mean, if it's 5:01, you're not returning that email till you're back at 8 a.m. the next day. So you understand, like during the middle of the day, don't leave anything unfinished. And they eliminate the voicemail system. That is something I only recently got turned on to. A very, very large steel supplier of Los Angeles ripped the entire phone system out of their building and gave everybody 2 lines. You either got one guy on hold or you're talking to another guy. No more voicemail, because with the voicemail, you got to take down the guy's number, then you got to start chasing the guy that left you the message. You're playing phone tag in it, and it just saps your processes, and it's a time waster. So if anyone's leaving you a voicemail, it's just a waste of time. You want to call them, and they got to call you, and everybody answers.
It's a very interesting philosophy today.
Yes, and it's great. I mean, because I'm just sorry, but it's it's overrated. It's underrated how important a phone conversation can be, and how things can get lost in translation with email going back and forth. I mean,
oh yeah, email is terrible. Email is terrible. It's horrible. Messaging and emails, it's terrible. You need to pick up your phone, have a conversation with somebody, and ask them to do the same. And that is a lost art. That is fading away fast with the changes in society.
We have about a minute and a half left, Traci, for number 4.
Well, I will say also lost art of the handwritten note too. By the way, that's another thing. So expressing gratitude through a handwritten note is more important than people realize, and it makes a huge difference. So, number 3, to be an effective leader, you must prove to your staff that you are willing to do the grunt work and dirty work yourself. Never send a man in to do a job, or a woman, in to do a job that you are not willing to do yourself. Amen. And I just say amen because it means so be it. It doesn't mean a man. It means so be it.
Let us not go there, please. I do not want to start that one.
So somebody's been watching the news lately. Somebody's been watching the news. Well, that one speaks for itself, obviously. I think that one of the problems I also run into with people trying to do a business or start a business with excessive overhead for life, they also try to act like King Arthur there in the chair with a turkey leg and a sword, and just direct everybody to do things, and they don't lift a finger. That is a great way to get people to start looking on ZipRecruiter.com for the next job.
It also sounds like medieval times, but we're going to be taking a break, so we'll be right back. KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM.
The anticipation of having a baby brings much excitement and hundreds of decisions. When choosing where to have your baby, choose the best. Providence St. Joseph Medical Center. The new Women's Pavilion combines expertly trained medical staff with luxurious labor and delivery suites and the area's most advanced neonatal intensive care unit. You and your new baby will get the best start possible. For more information and a tour, call 1-888-HEALING. The road to healing leads to Providence.
These days, it's hard to figure out how to fill all the self-isolation time, let alone figure out what to have for lunch or dinner. Salt Creek Grill owner Greg Amsler is helping us out in a big, big way. Salt Creek is now offering takeout and curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Their entire menu is available for pickup or delivery, including to-go beer and wine. Hey. In addition, Greg's offering wine at 25% off, along with daily specials. If you'd like to buy a gift card for a future visit, now's the time. Buy a $50 gift card and get $10 extra on the card completely free. Buy a $100 gift card, you get an extra $25. Salt Creek Grill, located next to Regal Cinema at the Valencia Mall. For more info, go to saltcreekgrill.com.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the law office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the law office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
I'm Kirk Stinson with Plumbing by Kirk. Over the years, I've helped many Santa Clarita residents with their plumbing problems. I've seen it all, from clogged drains, running toilets, broken water heaters, and so much more. I've also installed new drains and answered hundreds of emergency calls, even on the holidays. If you have a plumbing problem or you just want to upgrade your existing water heater or drain, give me a call. No issue is too big and no issue is too small.
Call now for estimates on new drain installations, old drain replacements, and water heaters. 263-6519 or log on to plumbingbyKirk.com.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Yep, we're here.
Okay.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM with our guest Tom Nealy and our co-host Traci DeForge. So, a lot of information we've been getting in the last 45 minutes. We've got about another 4 or 5 minutes left, and Tom Nealy, our guest, has compiled a list of 10 things that you need to be a successful entrepreneur. We've gone through the first 7 or 8. We have 2 left, and drumroll. I'm sorry. The engineer is kind of slow. Thank you. Number 2, Traci, go.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Number 2, recessions are where the best prepared business owners will grow beyond normal economic conditions. Do not, I repeat, do not get sucked into the false narrative of the marketplace. Best advice ever in number 2.
Yep. So how do you want me to explain that? Let's see. So you turn on the news, which I try not to do, and you see that the market's down. People are jumping out of buildings on Wall Street, and everything's going into the dumpster. And the leadership at the top has decided to do this, and that's going to change this, and everybody gets sucked into these constant news cycle narratives of the marketplace. In reality, where all the value is picked up for a better price is when things are in a lull or on a down cycle, from collector cars to excessive inventories of other warehouses to staff. There's staff looking for jobs that you could cherry pick some great staff from other companies. But the best prepared business owners with the most cash in the bank and the most money backing them will pick up these remnants of the ashes as the economy ebbs and flows. And that's where you need to be ready, because the next downturn's always coming.
Is that like buy low, sell high?
Well, that's kind of that, but you need to be prepared. You want to get more aggressive when things are down. You want to be ready for that. You want to figure out how to get around all the hurdles that have been put in front of you for whatever reason it may be, you know, some trade war or some politician's decision or a tax issue. You want to be ready to take advantage of every opportunity that comes along at a discount during recession.
How does that affect savings account and building up a savings so that you have some money left over for the rainy day?
Well, you got to manage that, but, you know, when I was younger, you don't care about that. When you get older, you start worrying about that. But when you're younger, go for it. Go for it. Go down to basically where you're rolling quarters to pay your rent if you got to. If it helps boost your company's market share, you got to do that.
We have 2 minutes left, and the number one entrepreneur item that you need, drum roll please.
You cannot manage people. You can only manage your agreement with them. Your word is everything you have. I added that part.
That's true.
That is true. Your word is important. Go ahead.
That's true. You can't sit there and you have to lay it out for people what you expect from them. You just can't sit there and remind them. You just need to know what's expected. And when they let you down, you don't come at them with a, hey, you forgot to do this, or hey, why didn't you do that? You come at them and you say, hey, we had an agreement that you would perform on this, and you did not do that. You start the conversation there, and it's a radical difference from trying to manage them, or micromanage is one word that's often used. But you want to just manage everything through agreements.
Well, what about guilt?
What about what?
Guilt. Sounds like you're kind of guilting them.
No, you don't do that. You let them know when they don't take out the trash or whatever it is. You know, you broke our agreement. You're supposed to call that customer back, and you didn't.
We have about 40 seconds left, so my question is, how can people reach you, Tom?
Let's see. How could they reach me? I guess Tom at anplumbing.com. AN like Army Navy. Plumbing. PLUMBING.com.
And you'll answer any questions?
Yeah, if anybody needs any help, as long as they're a friend of yours or a friend of ours.
All right, we'll have the engineer. He says he's got a lot of questions. He's also got a lot of issues, but all right. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM with my co-host Traci and our wonderful guest Tom Nealy today. Thank you very much. Have a great week.